Prime Minister Narendra Modi has landed in the United States in the second leg of his three-nation tour. This is Prime Minister Narendra Modi's fifth visit to the United States in 3 years and the first meeting between Prime Minister Modi and U.S. President Donald Trump. Prime Minister Modi tweeted thanking President Trump for a warm welcome and also added he's looking forward to meeting the President. Prime Minister tweeted, and this came after U.S. President also had tweeted calling Prime Minister Modi a true friend. Modi and Trump have never met before, and there is a reason to believe that the two may be able to work well together. Both men campaigned for office as political outsiders, touting nationalist and populist messages. Sources have told India Today there will be discussions on Pakistan-sponsored terror. The two leaders have also most likely to discuss the H-1B visa and the South China Sea issue. These visuals are just a while back when Prime Minister Modi had reached, in fact, United States, and it's an important visit. This is the first time Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Donald Trump, the President of the United States, are going to meet. Remember, this also comes at the backdrop of U.S. pulling out of the Paris Accord, after which India made it clear that they are going to stay in the Paris Accord despite U.S. pulling out. At that point of time, there was a sharp attack that came in from the United States President. Let me now quickly go across to Foreign Affairs Editor Geeta Mohan, who is joining me from United States. Geeta, all eyes on that big meeting and, of course, the address of the Prime Minister to the Indian diaspora today.
Well, that's right. That's the big meeting that is going to take place tomorrow when Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be meeting with President Donald Trump. But today he is going to address and engage with the Indian diaspora, something that he has been doing. The big issues this time around is going to be, and the focus area for President Donald Trump is job creation and to right the wrong when it comes to the trade deficit that the United States faces. So it is going to be the economic aspect that is going to drive the agenda for the United States of America, but also strategic and security cooperation. We will have to wait and see what the United States has to offer, is also what India has to offer to the United States of America. Sources have told India Today that there are going to be issues of India's concerns, where be it H-1B visa, or for that matter the issue of terrorism emanating from Pakistan that could figure during the talks. I'm being joined by former Assistant Secretary of State Nisha Biswal. Many thanks for joining us this morning. It is indeed a pleasure. It's an important meeting, the first meeting between President Donald Trump and Prime Minister Narendra Modi. What are the expectations? We do know that President Obama, the then President, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, had a great rapport, had really hit it off in many ways than one. Do you think the two leaders today or tomorrow will be able to really hit it off as well?
I do think that they will develop their own chemistry. First of all, let me just say it's wonderful to see you again and to be here on this occasion. I think that there's been a lot of concern up until now about whether the United States was focusing on the U.S.-India relationship in the way that the Obama administration had. And, you know, the lack of capacity in senior levels of the government to really focus on India had become a source of concern. But I can say today that the administration is very engaged and very focused on the Prime Minister's visit. Everything that I have heard from my contacts and colleagues in the White House and the State Department and the Defense Department is that this is a visit that the President is eagerly anticipating, and that they are hopeful for a very good visit with some good outcomes.
Nisha, the most important policy decisions of the Obama administration was being a part of the climate change agreement, the fight against climate change, and the pullout of the United States of America has hit the world quite hard. President Trump was seen criticizing India. Do you think that would be an area of consternation between the two countries?
I do think that those comments were not well received in India or frankly around the United States. And I think that they were somewhat misguided and a bit of an early misstep by the president. India, I think, has handled that well, has made the point it needed to make in disagreement with that, but has kind of moved beyond it. What is lacking from the world is U.S. leadership on climate change, but I will say that that vacuum is being filled admirably at the city, state level, and by private sector itself. What I have said is that climate change is a fact, and the effort and the movement to combat climate change is also an irreversible fact. And our economies are now firmly moving in a direction towards sustainable and clean sources of energy and technology.
What do you make of the tweet of President Donald Trump? He has been rather, when it comes to talking about leadership and leaders, has been very impulsive, and this time around he actually came out and said that India is a true friend, and they wish to continue with the strategic cooperation between India and the United States of America. Is that a positive note, or are we going to see changes in the tone and tenor of President Trump as the talks go along?
Well, you know, I would not try to predict what may move the president in his Twitter feed. What I do know is that the apparatus of government around him, the policy apparatus around him at the National Security Council, at the Defense Department, State Department, and in the economic agencies, that there's a strong structure that does understand the strategic importance of India and will be guiding and moving from that basis.
One of the most important aspects that Nisha Biswal herself dealt with was the issue of terrorism, security issues. She's traveled far and wide in South Asia. Nisha, how much of India's concern regarding dealt with and addressed by the Trump administration? It has been a grave concern. There has been no forward movement. Military aid continues to Pakistan. We've seen a lot of congressmen this time around come about saying that there needs to be a freeze. But how much is it that U.S. needs Pakistan on the ground in the Afghan region?
Well, look, I think that the issue of terrorism emanating from within Pakistani territory is something that has consistently been a concern of the United States across administrations, and we've engaged with our Pakistani counterparts to press those points home to them, and we'll continue to do that. And I think the Trump administration will also, I think, have a tough stand on that. But it's a very complicated situation, and I think India recognizes the complexities that are at play, both in terms of for the United States, the long-standing relationship and the need for Pakistan to be able to cooperate with and support U.S. goals and objectives in Afghanistan, and as well the complexities within Pakistan itself. That said, I think that patience is wearing thin in the United States and around the world, and I think within Pakistan that there is more and more of a questioning of a strategy and a policy that really has not reaped much in terms of returns for the Pakistani people themselves.
Well, we'll continue our conversation, Nisha, on this very aspect that has to do with security and terrorism. Patience certainly wearing thin. Back to the studio.
Thank you so much, Geeta, for getting us that comprehensive perspective on the U.S. in Prime Minister Narendra Modi and U.S. President Donald Trump's expected meeting, and the points on which, of course, both these world leaders will be speaking about. Let's listen in to a few of the reactions on this meet.
Hopefully they'll combine, have a good meeting together and then do good something for India and the U.S. together.
We are appealing that Prime Minister Modi and President Trump that declare Pakistan as a terrorist nation.
He will talk about, racism and terrorism, and he'll address that to hopefully make a better change in America.
Well, Geeta is still with me. Geeta, you know, as you were speaking to Nisha as well on this, important thing also would be to get some sort of an assurance or send out a message as far as Pakistan is concerned. Remember, the situation in Srinagar and of course Jammu and Kashmir has been on the boil. It is Pakistan-backed terrorists and separatists, those who are in fact, using this entire period of summer to once again create unrest in the valley. What is the expectation? Are we expecting some sort of a strong worded statement or a joint statement when President Obama and Prime Minister Modi will meet the press?
Ankit, a very pertinent point over here that you make about terrorism and how Pakistan has been using it as an instrument of state policy, and how the issue of Kashmir has been an area that Pakistan uses as a card and has engaged the United States of America as also many other countries to internationalize the issue of Kashmir. Nisha, if I could come to you, in your experience, using Kashmir and using Kashmir as a card is something that Pakistan has done, but also using terrorism to show unrest in the valley is also something that's of grave concern to India, and is something that the United States of America has dealt with concerns that India raised with US.
Look, I think that that the situation in the Kashmir Valley is of concern on its own merits, and I think I've heard those concerns even within the Indian government at very senior levels, which is that unless steps are taken to try to stabilize and create opportunity and create hope amongst a young and restive population there, that there's a danger of greater and greater radicalization and violence. And that's a concern that I've heard across the Indian government. Now, whether that is then exploited by other parties is, I think, a fair and legitimate question, and I think that there certainly are some indications that is going on, and that poses challenges for India and concerns for India, which are quite understandable. I think the point that I was making earlier, though, is that the Pakistani people themselves have to be asking, what are we getting out of this policy in terms of our own stability and security and prosperity? And you're seeing the uptick in terrorist attacks within Pakistan. Just the terrible attack of yesterday or 2 days ago that took so many lives. And so the Pakistani people themselves are really suffering from a set of policies that had been set in motion decades ago, but which I think have gotten out of control and have turned back and imploded on them. And that's the conversation that I think that the United States needs to have with Pakistan.
Before I toss it back to the studio, Nisha, is it fair to say that in the joint statement after the talks, there will be and there could be a mention, as has always been, of terrorism and cross-border terrorism, a reference to cross-border terrorism, because that's a grave concern to India, and on the other side that there could be a mention of South China Sea that is an area of concern when it comes to freedom of navigation for the United States of America.
Yeah, I think that the long-standing principles that have been codified in successive joint statements are likely to be reiterated in the current one. I haven't seen the text, so I can't presume, but it would surprise me if it veered sharply from statements in the past. I mean, I think the byword of this interaction is largely going to be continuity of U.S. policy, U.S.-India relationship, and so I would suspect that many of the things that have been consistently featured in joint statements in visits past will be there in this one.
Well, so despite all the apprehensions, Nisha Biswal over here says that there is continuity when it comes to Indo-US ties, and when it comes to foreign policy, there's only that much that the US administration can maneuver or have space to maneuver, which means that we will see cross-border terrorism reference as also a reference to South China Sea, which is an area that the United States of America would like mentioned in the joint statement.
Well, absolutely. That is keeping an eye as far as the rising Chinese power is concerned, of course.